transpires to be a detail that comes out, that'll be something we're waiting to find out. When he brought up the idea about the truck, no one knows what his name is. No one knows the make and the model, except it's a Ford.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know if it's a dually. We don't know if it's a F-150. But that part being just, moved away, swept under the rug, forget about it, move along, reminds me of the limo crash.
Mm-hmm.
And when me and you and Steve Outram were making our videos about it, the one thing which to this day sticks out like a sore thumb is that 2015 Toyota Highlander,
mm-hmm.
which was said that limo came down, crashed into it, hit two pedestrians, and you can't it's impossible, find any images of that 2015 Toyota Highlander, but it's all over every single mainstream media article.
Mm-hmm.
It hit a 2015 Highlander, but guess what? We don't have photographs to show you. We don't have video to show you.
Mm-hmm.
So those type of details, which are absolutely critical, in my opinion, when you leave those out, the number one thing I learned over a decade ago from one of the greatest YouTube truthers, and I won't say his name, and he said this, and it is absolutely written in gold, in diamond, and that is that if one part of it is a lie, then all of it is lies.
Right. Well, that is one thing you can, but I haven't found that to necessarily be true since then. I used to say that, but it's not always true. Sometimes part of it's a lie and part of it's not.
Well, no, and there's a correction to that.
Like Las Vegas, right? I don't know if
yeah.
you might think nobody was shot in Las Vegas, but there points to a lot of evidence. But even though I think people were shot, I think there were also crisis actors. And I think there was also, I think the numbers were not real. And I think, a lot of different things. But so that's a case where some of it was a lie. And I think some of it was real. But it's hard to say. There were probably more lies than truth. But
yeah, and it's a good point because it's a whole mishmash of conceptual lies and half-truths and truths mixed
mm-hmm.
in. But that statement that we're talking about, if one thing's a lie, then it's all a lie. What that does is it dictates that the important factors, not the half-truths, not the mishmashes, it's the real foundational points that are the ones that are lies.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what matters with that being said.
Mm-hmm. So anyway, your thoughts then on the Isaac Cappy story is that none of it is adding up for you, basically?
No. And I got into looking at as you have, as I saw several other people, the bridge,
mm-hmm.
a bridge out in the middle of nowhere,
mm-hmm.
The fact that no one is around, there's a military base close,
mm-hmm.
you get a flat tire. Anybody getting a flat tire, the number one thing you do, and regardless if your rim is scraping the road, you're still going to drive for a mile. If it takes that long, to pull over to a safe area,
right?
Because you don't want to block other people,
right?
And if you have a spare tire, you don't want to get hit by another car,
right?
So
right.
There's no sense in that. The idea that 20 foot, unless you Olympic dive off of that thing and you move your hands out of the way,
right.
and you purposely crack your skull and break your neck,
right.
severing your spinal column, that's going to guarantee your death pretty good. But there's even still a risk that, you're now in the ER for the rest of your life and you're paraplegic or
right.
totally. But, so you go into thinking, how you want to kill yourself? Well, I'll tell you, number one thing, even for the dumbest motherfuckers, is that it has to be fast and you don't want any pain.
Right.
And when you investigate the whole story, none of these things, none of them make any sense. And regardless of the idea, and this is what makes the naysayers say, you know what? He's a fucking psycho. He said Tom Hanks and Spielberg were pedos and everyone's a pedo. He's a psycho. Of course he would do it. Of course, this guy's nuts. It works on their behalf of them saying, oh yeah, he's a psycho, so it's no problem. That's exactly what would happen for a psycho. And but even for that thinking, the realistic idea is that if you watched him talk, and you watch that stupid letter, that manifesto he wrote, that doesn't sound anything like him. But I don't know him from Isaac. I don't know him from Tom, and he doesn't come across as an individual to make that type of idea of carelessly attempting suicide in the way that, okay, if you jumped off and you didn't die, or you missed a car hitting you, you fucked up your entire life. Whatever you have left in your life, you fucked it up. It's pointless. There is no sense to it. I don't believe any of it. I believe he was killed.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, fair enough. I mean, none of his friends, nobody that knows him thinks he killed himself. So, therefore, most people who know him think somebody killed him, basically. So, I mean, that's the place we're at. I mean, the only person who might not think that, is going to be his mom but who knows? I mean, yeah, it's just you could jump off a bridge. You could jump off a 20-foot bridge and get hit by a car and still live probably, I don't know. I don't want to give odds on it, but you might live most of the time from something like that. I mean, I guess it depends on how fast the truck was going when he hit him, but I assume
a lot of depending variables, right?
Yeah, right. But I mean, don't know. Seems unlikely. I mean, and for the fact that the media says bridge really is really misleading. Almost like it's intentionally misleading. It's like he jumped from an overpass. Allegedly.
Well, you're right. I mean, and if you know somebody close enough as a friend, whereas you know them better than I do, and people who know you, and they come, wait a minute, somebody I knew died? He committed suicide? What? And that's a whole other point, is that, if people that know you wouldn't do it regardless, then you more than have to take, I mean, somebody's not going to overnight go, well, yeah, I'm going to just end it. It's time to go. Well, and then, no, it doesn't really work that way in this realm. It just doesn't.
That was my impression, is that most people who commit suicide have been thinking about it for a while, like have been suicidal kind of for
red
a
flag,
while.
Red flag.
Right? I mean, you don't just go from not being suicidal to suddenly being suicidal. In most cases, they will have in most cases, they will have told somebody that they were feeling depressed. They would have let on somehow they didn't think it was worth living anymore or something like that. I mean, it's not normal just to go from everybody thinking you're never going to kill yourself to suddenly being suicidal. And I know it's not drugs, because, that drugs don't make you commit suicide, let's face it.
Not unless you're really, really stupid and you do go in front of a bus or something. But yeah. It's interesting too. In the chat, I see the name Tom Hanks being brought up, and that's an interesting enigma. Whereas it's argued, well, it wasn't really him because Twitter and all. It could have been some sock account or whatever. It's just that the idea, if Tom Hanks really did say that in that tweet, he's playing with the devil, playing with fire, because if he is a pedophile, he just added another infinity demons onto his soul in hell by doing that. But if he's not a pedophile, then he vindicated himself because he was accused wrongly by Kathy.
Right.
So,
all right, cool, man.
Well, I'll add two more real quick things, real quick.
All right.
Regarding 9/11, I've forgotten more than most people even know about 9/11. I was, upper 20s. I saw the planes hit, going to work. I was getting ready to walk out the door. I saw it. The TV was on, and then I saw the second plane, blah, blah, blah. I have thought about and who hasn't at my age of 47, who hasn't thought about every single fucking thing and then rethought it, staying up till 3 a.m. For 18 years, 19 years I've been doing this. And two things stand out. Three things real quick. There were no planes because early CGI deception was being done. And if you didn't have two planes then you can't have 4.
Mm-hmm.
Number 2 is that if you think about it critically, the plane, which wasn't a plane that hit the Pentagon,
Mm-hmm.
the reason why you don't have footage of that when that building had over 80 cameras on the one side,
Mm-hmm.
plus you had cameras in the hotel, plus you had cameras in the gas station, and the FBI, CIA, upper people took all that footage. That footage exists. They didn't shut the cameras down for that day. That footage is out there. You know where that footage is? That footage is there showing that missile hit, and that footage is buried where the gold in Fort Knox is gone, the real alien bodies they took from Area 51 are, and every other little tiny Dead Sea Scrolls secret conspiracy you ever wanted, down in the Vatican catacombs, whatever you wanted, that's where those tapes are, because they exist, and that's why they don't want to show you. That is the number one secret about 9/11. Find the tapes that doesn't show anything hit except a missile, and boom, you're done. The very last thing about it is this. This is the one I created as I made videos over tons of channels of mine that have been shut off. If you logically think critically, if you've ever been up in a 47-story structure, it's massively fucking huge. There is no way in hell that morning that innocent firefighters, Bob and Fred, were going, oh man, the first tower just dropped, and they get over to the building 47 or 47 structure, and all of a sudden, not knowing anything, they're able to get in the glove compartment, pull out blasting caps and C4, and rig a 47 building structure within hours.
Right, that's not
within
awesome.
hours, and then have it fall. And then the idea that Larry Silverstein says, yeah, well, the firefighters made the decision. It takes engineers, professional engineers, months to do that.
Months. And that's why supposedly in the World Trade Center, they were working on they were doing like a renovation. They were doing something to the elevator shafts, supposedly, right? For a long time that year, right? Is that correct?
Right. Well, they had to.
That's how they were wiring it up. That's how they were wiring it up.
That's right. They were rigging it. Well, and the other thing, too, is that if you think about it, the argument that office furniture brought down, fire is intelligent only to follow oxygen. It doesn't know how to jump from waste bins and computer chairs to logically, intelligently AI, artificial intelligence fires, to go to sequenced columns number 44, number 57, number 13, number 12, to bring it down so it came down professionally like that within 7 seconds.
Yeah, it's crazy. Obviously. Building 7 is where it's all at. Building 7, never forget.
Absolutely.
All right, man. Thanks for the call.
All right, brother.
All right.
Oh, yeah, thank you. Bye.
See you. Okay. All right, I'm going to tune out. I've been going for